Hey guys, welcome back. Houston Math Prep here. In this video, we're going to continue looking at examples of solving rational equations. So we know that our first step in doing that is always to list out any excluded values. So here I'm looking at each and every denominator to see what would make it 0. So in my first denominator, x squared minus x equals 0. I need to figure out what will make that happen. So the first thing I can do is factor out that greatest common factor of x. Now that it's factored, I see that x equals 0 and x minus 1 equals 0 gives me excluded values of 0 and 1. So that's just from that denominator, and I can also kind of notice, hey, this one over here on the right side, it's the same. So I know that that's going to give me the same excluded values. Checking our third denominator, we have 1 over x. The value of x that would make x be 0 is, of course, just 0. So we have two excluded values, 0 and 1. Okay, so now that we've got our excluded values listed, we are ready to get into the solving here. So the first thing that I notice is that I have some common denominators between two of my fractions. So I may want to actually subtract this term over just to make my equation a little bit easier. So I'm going to move it over by subtracting, and that's going to leave me with 1 over x equals 5 over x squared minus x minus 1 over x squared minus x. So because on my right-hand side, these two fractions have exactly the same denominator, I can go ahead and combine them by keeping that denominator and combining their numerators. So 5 minus 1 becomes 4. Okay, now that I have it here, I'm going to go ahead and start looking for my least common denominator. Now I know my least common denominator typically comes from multiplying my two denominators. However, in this case, thinking about the fact that x squared minus x can be factored, so let's rewrite that as factored, 1 over x equals 4 over x times x minus 1, I can see that my denominators actually already share a factor of x. So that means my least common denominator is just x times x minus 1. So if I come over and I multiply both sides by x times x minus 1, then I can go ahead and start to simplify. So I can cancel out on my left my factor of x in my numerator and my denominator. That just leaves me with 1 times x minus 1, or x minus 1. On my right-hand side, I can go ahead and cancel out my factors of x and my factors of x minus 1 from my numerator and denominator, and that leaves me with just 4. So what I have remaining is x minus 1 equals 4. So going ahead and solving for x, I get x equals 5. Now that's my proposed solution, but again, remember I always have to check it against my excluded values. So I had two excluded values, 0 and 1, so x equals 5 is a good solution. All right, let's check out one more. So here's another rational equation. Start off by listing out any excluded values. So taking each and every denominator and seeing what would make that denominator 0. So starting with our left hand, 6x squared equaling 0. Well, go ahead and divide both sides by 6. X squared equals 0. Taking the square root, I get x equals 0 is an excluded value. Doing the same for 3x squared equals 0. Dividing both sides by 3, x squared equals 0. That's the same as here, so we're again just going to get x equals 0. And from our final fraction, 1 over x, the only value that will make x be 0 is 0. So even though we had 3 different denominators, all of them have the same excluded value, x equals 0. So now we can go ahead and work to solve here. So I can start looking for my least common denominator. So if I think about 6x squared as 6 times x times x, and 3x squared as 3 times x, then I can see that these two already have the factor of x that my third one has. So I think that my least common denominator is going to be 6 times x squared, or 6x squared. That covers all multiples, or all factors that are involved here. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply both sides by 6x squared. So on the left-hand side, my 6x squared cancels out with my 6x squared, and I am just left with 1. On my right-hand side, I need to distribute my 6x squared, and that makes 6x squared over 3x squared minus 6x squared over x. So simplifying 6x squared over 3x squared, my factors of x squared cancel out, and 6 divided by 3 leaves me with 2. Simplifying 6x squared over x, one factor of x will cancel out, and that leaves me with minus 6x. So here's my linear equation. Solving for x, I'm going to go ahead and start by subtracting 2 over. So 1 minus 2 is negative 1 equals negative 6x. Dividing both sides by negative 6, I get positive 1/6 equals x. Comparing that with my excluded values, my only excluded value was x equals 0, so x equals 1/6 is a good solution. Alright guys, that does it for us in this video on solving rational equations. We'll catch you in the next one.